Top 10 countries that can enter the US without a visa under the 2025 Visa Waiver Program. Yep, you heard that right. While most travelers are busy printing bank statements, booking fake hotels, and praying at the visa interview altar, citizens from these lucky countries just waltz in with an approved ESTA and a carry-on. No embassy visits, no visa fees, just smooth entry into the land of TSA lines and fast food. In a world where U.S. entry requirements are tighter than airport Wi-Fi, the 2025 Visa Waiver Program is basically the VIP list of global travel. And guess what? Your country probably isn't on it. With ever-changing visa regulations, evolving U.S. visa policy, and rising curiosity about countries that can enter the U.S. without a visa, this list is turning heads and sparking envy. If you're deep into U.S. immigration news or just tired of renewing that never-ending visa, you'll want to see how these countries made the cut. No spoilers here, but one thing's clear: travel privilege is real. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, because travel intel like this is too good to gatekeep. Number 10. Israel. They said it couldn't happen. For years, Israel and the United States were like those best friends who somehow never exchanged spare house keys, close but still making each other wait at the front door. Well, not anymore. As of 2023, Israel officially joined the US Visa Waiver Program, making 2025 the first full year Israelis can pack a bag, grab an ESTA, and slide into the US for up to 90 days without needing a visa. No consulate visits. No awkward interview questions like, "Why do you want to go to America?" as if Target, tacos, and Times Square weren't enough. Now before you say, "So what?" let's talk numbers. More than 400,000 Israelis visited the US in 2019 alone, before visa-free travel was even an option. That number is expected to skyrocket, because let's face it, nothing motivates international travel quite like removing red tape. And for a country that already enjoys close military, tech, and cultural ties with the US, this new perk just leveled up the friendship. So what changed? A lot. Israel had to implement key security upgrades, including better traveler screening and reciprocal treatment of all US citizens. Yes, all, which was a sticking point before. The move wasn't just diplomatic, it was strategic. Israel became the first Middle Eastern country to make it into the exclusive VWP Club, a region usually left standing outside the velvet rope. Now think about that. Out of 54 African countries and a bunch of close US allies in other regions still needing full visas, Israel just moonwalked past all of them into ESTA heaven. Fair? That's up for debate. But from a geopolitical power play perspective, genius. So let me ask you, if Israel can make the cut, what's stopping other countries? Is it politics? Security? Or is the Visa Waiver Program really just the world's most elite travel clique? Number 9. Singapore. Singaporeans can just stroll into the US without a visa. Yup, no consulate dance, no stack of financial documents, and definitely no "prove you'll return" speech from a grumpy visa officer. It's like the US handed them a golden boarding pass and said, "See you when you land." Now here's the wild part. Singapore is one of the smallest countries in the world, but when it comes to global mobility, it punches way above its weight. As of 2025, the Singaporean passport ranks among the top 3 most powerful in the world, offering visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to over 190 countries. And of course, the United States is one of them, thanks to the long-standing trust and tight security cooperation between the two. So why does the US trust Singapore so much? Let's just say they run their immigration like a Silicon Valley startup, crossed with the discipline of a military academy. Singapore screens its travelers so well, they probably know you're flying to America before you finish booking your Airbnb. Combine that with low overstay rates, high compliance with the Visa Waiver Program rules, and a squeaky clean international rep, and it's a no-brainer why the US rolled out the red carpet. Now ask yourself this: how does a nation with only 5.9 million people manage to do what dozens of much larger countries can't? Is it just efficiency? Reputation? Or are they secretly running the global travel game from behind the scenes? For Americans, Singapore is often viewed as this ultra-clean, futuristic city-state where chewing gum is banned, crime is practically non-existent, and public transport runs better than our government. But for Singaporeans, flying into the US without a visa is just another Tuesday. But here's the kicker. While most travelers are stuck refreshing visa appointment slots like they're trying to score Beyoncé tickets, Singaporeans are breezing through US customs, probably texting their friends, "Landed. No visa. No drama." So now I'm curious, do you think more countries should be on this level of trust with the US? Or is this travel privilege something that's always going to be reserved for a select few? Number 8. The Netherlands. The Dutch don't need a visa to visit the US. They just hop on a plane with an approved ESTA and breeze through customs like it's a morning bike ride through Amsterdam. No visa interviews, no paperwork drama, just straight-up access to one of the most locked-down travel destinations on the planet. Must be nice, right? But here's the twist. While Americans are busy daydreaming about canal cruises, stroopwafels, and red-light curiosity tours, the Dutch have been casually coming to the US for decades, without all the hassle. The Netherlands was among the first countries to join the Visa Waiver Program way back in 1989. That's right, they've had this privilege for over 35 years, and you didn't even know it. So what makes the Dutch so trustworthy in the eyes of US immigration? Let's break it down. For starters, they're consistent. Their overstay rate is less than 1%, which basically screams responsible tourist. They're also highly digitized, super transparent with data sharing, and always up to code on US entry requirements and visa regulations. In other words, they play by the book, and the US loves a good rule follower. Here's a fun stat. More than 900,000 Dutch citizens visited the US in the year before the pandemic, and that number's bouncing back fast. Dutch travelers tend to spend more, stay longer, and explore beyond the tourist traps. Think less Times Square selfies, more Route 66 road trips. That's exactly the kind of tourism America loves. Wallets open, rules respected. Now let's pause for a second. Should access to the US really be this easy for some, while others jump through flaming hoops to get a 2-week tourist visa? Is this a matter of diplomatic loyalty, shared values, or just a really good PR campaign? Number 7. Spain. Spain doesn't need a visa to visit the US. Yup, España gets the VIP pass too. While millions of travelers are sweating through visa paperwork like it's an unpaid internship, Spaniards just apply for an ESTA, hop on a flight, and roll through US immigration like they own the airport. All vibes, no visa drama. And it's not just because Americans love tapas or flamenco. Spain has earned its spot in the US Visa Waiver Program since the early 1990s, proving it can play by the rules with style. With a passport that ranks in the top 5 most powerful in the world, Spaniards can visit over 190 countries without needing a visa, including the United States. That's not travel, it's a passport flex. Now here's where it gets interesting. Over 1.2 million Spanish citizens visit the US every year, and they're not just snapping selfies at the Grand Canyon. They come to work, study, tour, and spend. And guess what? They leave on time. The overstay rate for Spanish travelers is consistently under 1%, which is basically the visa waiver equivalent of a 5-star Yelp review. But let's talk trust. The US doesn't just hand out ESTA privileges like candy at a parade. It's a relationship built on security, transparency, and mutual respect. Spain shares data, screens its outbound travelers, and enforces return rules that make Homeland Security sleep a little easier. That kind of consistency is rare, especially in a world where visa fraud is more common than airport Wi-Fi issues. Still, here's a question to chew on with your churros. Why does Spain get a free pass, while many countries with equally solid tourism records are stuck in visa purgatory? Is it about diplomacy, wealth, global clout, or just being on Uncle Sam's favorites list? Number 6. Italy. Italy doesn't need a visa to enter the United States. Yes, the land of pasta, passion, and piazzas gets to skip the whole visa circus and breeze into the US with nothing but an ESTA and a confident airport strut. While travelers from many parts of the world are begging for embassy appointments like concert tickets, Italians are chilling with a cappuccino and casually booking flights to New York. This visa-free status isn't new. It's part of the long-standing US-Italy travel bromance under the Visa Waiver Program, which Italy joined back in 1989. That's over 3 decades of smooth transatlantic travel. So while your cousin in Ghana is still printing out proof of funds and return itineraries, Italy's already landed, cleared customs, and is halfway through a Times Square selfie spree. Here's the kicker. Italy has one of the most powerful passports on the planet, granting visa-free access to more than 190 countries. It's basically the Ferrari of passports, luxurious, fast, and universally respected. And according to the US Department of Homeland Security, Italian citizens have a visa overstay rate of less than 1%. In other words, they come, they tour, they leave. No funny business. But let's ask the real question. Why do countries like Italy get the red carpet treatment from the US, while others are still stuck in bureaucratic purgatory? Is it about tourism revenue? Historical ties? Or does the US just have a soft spot for spaghetti and symphonies? Think about it. Italian tourists spend big, over $2 billion annually in the US pre-pandemic. And they do it with flair. They're not just here for the Statue of Liberty. They're dining in San Francisco, exploring Miami, and shopping in Vegas. You want visitors who respect the rules and boost the economy? Italians fit the bill. So I'll toss this to you. Should more countries get this kind of entry privilege? Or has the US turned global mobility into an exclusive club where only the cool kids, aka countries with low-risk travelers, get in without a visa? Sound off in the comments. And while you're here, hit that like button and subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian. We're only halfway through this list, and it's only getting juicier from here. Number 5. South Korea. South Koreans don't need a visa to enter the United States. Let that sink in. While much of the world is still printing invitation letters and memorizing embassy interview scripts, folks from Seoul to Busan are casually hopping on flights to LAX with just an ESTA approval and a carry-on full of skincare products. This isn't some recent hookup either. South Korea joined the US Visa Waiver Program back in 2008, and they've been nailing the model traveler role ever since. Their overstay rate? Just 0.18%. That's lower than the sugar content in your favorite K-pop idol's diet. No wonder Uncle Sam said, "You know what? Come on in. Let's talk about that travel bond." The US and South Korea aren't just allies, they're ride or die in the diplomatic world. From joint military exercises to billion-dollar tech partnerships, these two countries trust each other like siblings who don't fight over the remote. And when it comes to travel, that trust translates into over 2 million South Koreans visiting the US annually before the pandemic hit. So why is South Korea so trusted? For one, they run a tight immigration ship. Their biometric screening is next level, their data sharing is flawless, and they make sure their citizens actually return. Plus, their government even reminds travelers not to mess up abroad, because one person ruining it could mean everyone loses the privilege. That's accountability with a capital A. Now here's the big question. Is it fair? Should an entire nation get fast-track access while others get grilled like it's an episode of Border Patrol? Or has South Korea simply earned their spot in America's travel elite? Number 4. France. French citizens don't need a visa to enter the United States. Let that marinate for a second. While millions around the world are sweating through paperwork and paying triple-digit visa fees just to visit Disneyland, the French are over there sipping espresso, applying for an ESTA, and heading straight for JFK like it's a quick weekend getaway. France has been on the US Visa Waiver Program list since 1989. That's over 3 decades of visa-free travel to America, a flex that most countries can only dream about. And no, it's not just because they gave the US the Statue of Liberty, though that probably didn't hurt. It's because the French passport ranks in the top 5 globally, granting its holders access to 190-plus countries without a visa, including the good old US of A. So how do the French keep this VIP status? For starters, they play by the rules. The visa overstay rate for French visitors is consistently under 1%, which is basically the gold standard for trust in international travel. Add in tight security systems, data sharing agreements, and a reputation for order. Yes, even with all those protests, and you've got a recipe the US likes. But let's talk numbers. More than 1.8 million French tourists visit the US every year. They come for the landmarks, the shopping, the jazz, and probably to judge our cheese selection. But they also come with money. French visitors spend billions annually in the US, making them some of the most economically valuable tourists out there. Here's where it gets interesting. Is it fair that countries like France get automatic access while others, equally stable, equally law-abiding, are stuck in endless visa limbo? Or is it all about long-standing diplomatic ties and economic leverage? Number 3. Japan. Japan doesn't need a visa to enter the United States. That's right. While most of the world is still crossing fingers in visa interviews and nervously avoiding eye contact with embassy officers, Japanese citizens are already halfway through their in-flight sushi tray, cruising toward LAX with an approved ISTA and zero drama. This isn't some temporary perk. Japan has been part of the US Visa Waiver Program since 1988, one of the earliest to join. That's nearly 4 decades of red carpet access to the US. And with the Japanese passport ranking as one of the top 3 most powerful in the world, it's not just America they stroll into. Japan's passport opens doors to over 190 countries visa-free. Global mobility? They invented it. But why does Japan get the VIP treatment? It comes down to trust, order, and a record so clean it practically sparkles. The visa overstay rate for Japanese visitors to the US? Just 0.09%. That's so low it makes other countries look like they're squatting. Japanese travelers come, explore, spend generously, and most importantly, leave on time. Speaking of spending, Japanese tourists are no joke when it comes to boosting the US economy. They rank among the top 10 foreign spenders, dropping serious cash on luxury shopping, theme parks, and, yes, outlet malls. So you've got visitors who are respectful, reliable, and contribute billions. Who wouldn't want them? Now here's the thought-provoking part. Is this level of access about discipline and diplomacy, or just global favoritism in a fancy suit? Why does Japan get the golden ticket while countries with similar GDPs and travel behavior are still stuck in consulate queues? Number 2. Germany. Germans can enter the United States without a visa. Yep, while millions around the world are still begging for embassy appointments like their Taylor Swift concert tickets, German citizens just file an ISTA, throw a pretzel in their backpack, and casually board a flight to Chicago. No consulate drama, no long forms asking if they've ever committed war crimes. Seriously, that's still on there. Just zack, and they're in. Germany has been part of the US Visa Waiver Program since 1989, and it shows. They're not new to this, they're true to this. With a passport ranked among the top 3 most powerful in the world, Germans enjoy visa-free access to 190-plus countries, and the United States is one of their favorite stops. In 2023 alone, over 2 million German tourists touched down on American soil, proving they're not just about schnitzel and castles. They're global players. Now here's why they're so trusted. The visa overstay rate for Germans is around 0.14%, which basically means they leave on time every time. Germans don't play when it comes to rules, structure, and timetables. And let's be honest, the US loves a traveler who doesn't mess with the system. They follow instructions, they scan their documents correctly, and they probably bring a backup copy, just in case. On top of that, Germany is a political and economic powerhouse, a close ally, and a major trading partner. Translation: the US has every reason to keep the gates wide open for them. From high-spending tourists to business travelers fueling bilateral deals, Germans bring money, manners, and Lufthansa miles. But here's the question you should ask. Why is Germany, a country with 83 million people, able to move through American borders like it's just another EU layover, while smaller, equally developed countries are still getting grilled harder than bratwursts at Oktoberfest? Is this about security, economics, or just old-school diplomatic favoritism dressed up in bureaucracy? Number 1. Australia. Australians don't need a visa to enter the United States. Yep. While travelers from dozens of countries are still battling embassy queues like it's a Hunger Games audition, Aussies are casually throwing a toothbrush in a backpack, filling out an SDA, and catching the next flight to LA like it's no big deal. Because for them, it isn't. Australia has been on the US Visa Waiver Program since 1996, and let's just say, they've never looked back. Their passport ranks among the top 10 most powerful in the world, offering visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to 190-plus countries. But here's the kicker. The US trusts Australians so much, it's basically like handing them the spare key and saying, just lock up when you leave. Now let's get into the why. First, the Aussie overstay rate, only 0.24%. That's practically flawless in immigration terms. They come for the holiday, maybe do a bit of shopping in New York, surfing in California, and eating their weight in diner pancakes. And then they go home. No fuss, no sketchy business. Second, Australia and the US are tighter than Vegemite and toast. We're talking military allies, intelligence-sharing partners, and economic buddies with deep ties through trade, education, and good old Western values. That trust translates into travel perks, ones many countries can only envy from afar. But here's a question for you. Should alliances and political favoritism be the golden ticket to bypassing the visa system? Or should every nation be judged purely on traveler behavior and security risk? Because when it comes to access, the 2025 Visa Waiver Program isn't just about travel, it's a political love letter. Still, there's no denying Australians have earned their status. They're low-risk, high-spend travelers with a reputation for behaving abroad, and the stats back it up. Over 1.4 million Aussies visited the US last year, spending billions and making TSA agents everywhere say, "Good day" a whole lot more often. So where does your country stand? Are you waving from the STA line or still stuck behind the visa wall? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and make sure to subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, because we just broke down the travel privilege hierarchy, and your passport might not look the same ever again.